What will you do if you come back home and find out that your soon to be brother in law had used your pet dog to cook pepper soup? Will you let it slide and forgive him, or call off the wedding that is in a few days? In the heart of a quiet town of Obong, there lived two sisters called Uyai and Itoro. They shared an unbreakable bond born from hardship and loyalty. Orphaned young, they had been each other's strength, facing life's trials together with unwavering support. Uyai, the oldest, was known far and wide for her successful jewelry business. She was respected and loved by the people for her kindness and determination, while Itoro was known for her eagle eyes, which never left her sister. Itoro was very protective of Uyai and never let her get into harm's way, even though she was the youngest. She had a dog named Coco. Coco was like her own child. It has lived with them for years, even when they were still struggling to survive on the streets. Itoro was the quiet one who wanted nothing more from life than to see her sister Uyai happy. Uyai, on the other hand, loved Itoro, but she wanted more. Someone she can fall in love with and live a fairy tale life with. Itoro wanted her to stop fantasizing, rather, to be patient so she will find a good and responsible suitor who would love and cherish her. Uyai was once in an abusive relationship because of how romantic her partner was, but Itoro quickly intervened and separated them forever. One day, Uyai crossed paths with a stranger. His name was Edet. Edet was posted to Obong town for his youth service. Uyai fell in love with him immediately, and soon the love was reciprocated. Uyai and Edet started the relationship. Edet was sweet and very romantic. He bought her gifts and made her laugh. At first, Itoro supported the relationship, but later she developed cold feet because she discovered that Edet was only using Uyai for her money. Uyai was manipulated into providing for Edet. On one occasion, he made Uyai buy him a car. Itoro was furious. She warned Uyai several times, but her advice was unheeded. Soon, Edet asked Uyai to marry him, and she accepted without informing Itoro. Itoro was unhappy considering how fast the whole relationship was. Uyai was so happy and the wedding preparation began. Few days later, Edet moved into their three-bedroom apartment with his younger brother Ekong. This made Itoro furious because they came unannounced. But there was nothing more she could do because Uyai was the one paying for the house and she was deeply in love with Edet. This will make us even closer, Uyai said to Itoro. Why can't you see what I'm seeing? They are using you for your money. Who proposes so quickly? First, you are the one providing for him. Secondly, you bought him a car and now he has moved into our house with his brother without even asking for your permission. Who does that? Where have you ever heard that a man moved in with his fiancée? Uyai, I know you love him, but you need to open your eyes and face the reality before it becomes too late, Itoro said to Uyai. Maybe when you grow older, you will understand how love works. Until then, I don't want to hear of your complaints about Edet and Ekong again, Uyai responded to Itoro, with her face looking sad. Itoro felt bad for her sister because she had no idea of the harm that was coming her way. That period, she felt lonely, often seeking company with her dog Coco. Edet and Ekong became very aware of Itoro's suspicion, and they were uncomfortable with her in the house. They came up with different plans to separate the two sisters, but it was to no avail. Ekong hated her openly. Her presence in the house was a threat to him. One evening, while the family gathered for dinner, Ekong tossed Itoro a malicious smirk. I don't know why Uyai still keep you around, he muttered under his breath, just loud enough for her to hear. With her money, she doesn't need a little beggar sister hanging on. Itoro clenched her fist, but she swallowed her anger, unwilling to give him the satisfaction of a reaction. Instead, she turned to Uyai, who was laughing blissfully, unaware of Ekong's bitterness. Uyai had worked so hard for her happiness, Itoro wouldn't ruin that for her. But Ekong wasn't satisfied. He found another way to cut deeper and make her suffer. He had seen how attached she was to her dog Coco, how she spent hours taking care of it, feeding and treating it like family. In his twisted mind, Coco was her weakness. And Edet, tired of Itoro's interference in his plans, didn't stop his brother. In fact, he encouraged it, knowing that once Uyai felt the tension between herself and Itoro, her bond with her sister would weaken. He saw Coco as the perfect way to break the sisters' closeness, to put a rift in their trust before the wedding. A few days before the wedding, Itoro went to the market as usual to stock up the house for the wedding preparations. But when she returned, she noticed that the house was unusually quiet and an odd smell lingered in the air. "Coco, Uyai," she called out, her voice echoing in silence. This was unusual. She rushed towards her room to look for Coco, but it was nowhere to be found. She went to the kitchen and found Ekong stirring a pot of pepper soup, the steam thick with spices. He looked up, smirking as she entered. "Ekong, where is Coco?" she said, a knot forming in her stomach. Ekong didn't bother hiding his smugness. "Coco," he drawled. "In the pot, of course. You are smelling your precious dog right now, Itoro." The meat was perfect for pepper soup. Itoro felt her chest tightened, her heart pounding. With shock, her voice cracked as she whispered, "You killed Coco? You know how much it means to me." Calm down," Edet's voice cut in from the doorway. He leaned casually against the wall, his face devoid of sympathy. "Ekong was just making sure we had enough meat for the wedding guests. Besides, it's only a dog, Itoro. You are being overdramatic." Itoro's rage fled, but she felt something deeper, a piercing betrayal. She looked from Ekong's satisfied smirk to Edet's cold stare, realizing how carefully they have planned this. "Only a dog?" she managed to whisper. "Coco was my family and both of you knew that. You did this on purpose to hurt me." Ekong smiled, entirely unbothered. "If you don't like it, maybe it's time for you to stop sticking your nose into Uyai's affair." Just then, Uyai entered, drawn by the voices, but her face fell as she saw Itoro's tear-soaked face and the tense standoff. "What's going on?" she asked, confused, looking between Itoro and the two men. "Uyai," Itoro choked. "They killed Coco for pepper soup. They knew what he meant to me, but they did it just to hurt me." Uyai's face went pale, torn between her sister's hurt and her loyalty to Edet. "Itoro, please," she said softly, reaching out. "I'm so sorry. It's just tradition to serve meat to guests and..." "Tradition?" Itoro snapped, pulling away. "You think this is a bad tradition? Uyai, they are doing this to divide us, to make us hate each other." Uyai hesitated, her gaze flickering uncertainly between Itoro and Edet, who remained silent. Her hesitation sliced through Itoro like a blade. "Uyai," Itoro said, her voice breaking, "if you go through with this wedding, you are choosing them over me. I'm your sister. I've stood by you when no one else did." "Itoro, please. I love him. This wedding is everything I've worked for. I want you to understand," Uyai whispered, her eyes filling with tears. But Itoro's mind was already made up. She backed away, her heart pounding with hurt and anger. "Then make your choice, Uyai, because I will never forgive them or you for what you have done." With that, Itoro stormed out, leaving her sister speechless and the men smirking behind her. She could no longer hold back. If Edet and Ekong thought they could break her spirit, they were wrong. She showed them all that no one could mess with her without paying a heavy price. and with that, the seed of revenge were sown. Days after day, Uyai tried repeatedly to reach out to her sister, hoping to mend the damage her fiancé and his brother had done. But Itoro remained cold and distant. Her heart hardened by the betrayal she suffered. She spent all her time alone, quietly grieving the loss of Koko and sitting at the injustice Edet and Ekong had shown her. Days later, Uyai and Edet got married. The wedding was a grand affair, filled with laughter and cheers. But it was bittersweet for Uyai, as Itoro, her only family, was not in attendance. There was gossip among the attendees. What kind of a sister is she to still go ahead with the wedding after all they did to Itoro? Some said, while others blamed Itoro for not showing up at her sister's wedding. Uyai convinced herself that with time, Itoro's anger would fade and things would return to normal. The first few weeks after the wedding were like the best days of Uyai's life. Edet pampered her like a queen and spoiled her with romance, which made Uyai trust him with her finance. But unknown to her, all that was just an act to gain access to her wealth. Days later, Uyai found Itoro's new house. She begged her forgiveness and tried convincing her that Edet was a very good man. He's a very good man and he treats me well. Please, Itoro, come back home. We miss you so much, Uyai said. But Itoro hissed. Only time will tell how truly foolish you are. But Eden, don't you ever show your face here again. Go and live in your imagination. As far as I'm concerned, I have lost my sister, Itoro said as she sent Uyai out of her house. In anger, shutting the door against her. Uyai went home crying as she narrated everything to Edet. Let her be. She's seriously jealous of the fact that you are married. I would advise you to stop reaching out till she comes back to her senses, Edet said as he gave a devious smile. Itoro's hatred for them continued to double and soon she could no longer contain it. She went to seek help to ruin Edet and Ekong's life, but she was advised not to do so. Let Karma do his job. Keep your hands clean and you will definitely get justice. Forgive your sister for she is blinded by love. Their days of reckoning is fast approaching, an elder said to her. Itoro decided to heal and move on with her life, one that did not include her sister. Months later, as Uyai was about to stock up her jewelry shop, she noticed that there was no money in the account anymore after she joined hers with Edet. Uyai was shocked and quickly went to Edet to demand for an explanation. I used the money for a business, but I will replace it once the deal pulls through. Hold on for some weeks, he said to Uyai as he gave her a soft kiss. Uyai, without thinking much about it, decided to let it slide and wait till the deal pulled through. Few days later, Edet begged Uyai for some money to clear out the goods, stating that it was seized by the Nigerian custom. If I don't clear it out, we would lose everything. Please, Uyai, help your lovely husband. The goods I am expecting will change our lives once it hits the market. I will finally be able to take care of you fully, he said to her. But you already took all I had. Where do you expect me to get such money from? Uyai replied. Sell the goods in your shop, or better still, let's take a loan using the shop as collateral. I promise to pay back in the next couple of weeks, Edet said to Uyai as she became skeptical. Edet knew that Uyai was not going to comply easily and so he decided to use her weak point, love. That night, Edet made love to her like he had never did before. Uyai became instantly carried away. The next day, she did as instructed by Edet. She took a huge loan, using her shop and piece of land as collateral, literally leaving her with nothing. Uyai gave everything to Edet, hoping to be paid back, but she was betrayed. Few days after Uyai gave the money to him, she came home from her shop just to find the house empty. Ekong and Edet's room was empty and her valuables gone. Uyai thought she had been robbed. She searched everywhere for her husband but found only a letter on the shelf. It was the one Edet left for her, explaining that she should not bother looking for them, as they were far gone. Uyai immediately realized that she had been duped. She fell on the ground in shock as she struggled to catch her breath. Her eyes could not believe what she read. Itoro was right all along. I should have listened to my sister. My own is finished. Where will I start from? My enemies will laugh at me, she said as tears kept on rolling down her chin. Uyai screamed and her neighbors rushed to her house and saw the house empty. From the way she was crying, they knew what had happened because no one liked Edet and Ekong, but they respected them because of her. They tried consoling her, but it was to no avail. Each passing day, she would cry out her eyes. Soon, the loan was due for refund, but Uyai had nothing. She was asked to evacuate her shop, which left her utterly broke. Her land was taken over by the bank, and the landlord gave her a quick notice as her rent was already due. Uyai became depressed. She had nowhere else to go other than to seek help from her sister. One day, as Itoro was about going to work, she heard a knock on the door. When she opened, she saw Uyai drenched in her own tears. Immediately, Itoro knew what had happened. She let Uyai in, but did not let her utter a word before she grabbed her bag and left for work. Uyai regretted her actions and patiently waited for Itoro to return. Later that evening, when Itoro came back, Uyai fell on her knees and begged for her forgiveness. "How do you feel now that you have lost everything?" Itoro asked. Uyai buried her head in shame as she continued to ask for her forgiveness. Itoro was enraged, but she kept her emotions in check as she continued to avoid her. Uyai spent the next couple of weeks trying to get on Itoro's good side, till the two sisters finally went back to how they used to be. Uyai started afresh with help from Itoro. She got a new shop and narrated all that had happened to her customers, who patronized her so she could get back on her feet. Few months passed. Ekong parted with all of Edet's money so he could relocate and start a good life. But unfortunately, he was involved in a ghastly motor accident, which rendered him paralyzed. The onlookers from the moment of the accident took the money and robbed him. Ekong spent weeks at the hospital, after which he was discharged because there was no money to continue his treatment. And his brother, Edet, abandoned him in his vegetable state because of what he did to him. Edet could not stand the thought of being poor again, so he became involved in a romance scam which led him to jail. He was sentenced to years imprisonment as his victim died of high blood pressure. Uyai and Itoro together rebuilt an empire, one who surpassed the previous one, and they lived happily ever after. This is the end of this story. Thank you for listening to this story. Please click on the like and subscribe button to support this channel for free. And also turn on the notification bell so you'll be the first to see our new stories from this channel. Do not forget that we love and appreciate you. See you in our next story.